It is March 29th, 2026, and this is your host, Marz C. Flowers, the captain of disaster, the #1 Star Warrior, Kirby's uncle, and your host of the Marz Variety Show. Good morning. I hope everybody is having a good Sunday morning. I'm trying to have a better Sunday. I have had a really weird week. I'm not going to be 100% negative, but if I could just reflect on my week, we're going to try to start doing this at the beginning of every podcast. I think the last couple of weeks, I've personally have been going through some metamorphosis. Ever since I've been just trying to make this content and I've been trying to be a little more on myself, I've noticed that it's naturally creating boundaries around me that are making me grow in ways that I'm not 100% sure is going to take me just yet. I feel like this is very good, but because it's so unknown, it brings a lot of anxiety, and I'm working through that right now. So I'm not going to be a complete negative of my week, and I think that's something that we should all practice. We should all practice being a little more obtuse about how we view the way we move in this world. I think we don't give each other enough grace. We're not nice to each other. So you gotta do that for yourself. You gotta be the change you want to see in the world. And that's definitely going for me as a content creator who's making content that brings deeper meaning, getting you to think a little deeper about the media around you. Because if you can do this on your entertainment, you can do this with the news. You do this with the news, you can do this with people. You can do this with people. You could do this in your work environment. Just dig a little deeper about what people are saying, how people are doing, and seeing, those line up. So, no. That's how I feel about it this morning. That's my little morning gold. But this morning, let's talk about what we are aiming to do today. Today, we have a couple things we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Wonder Man being reviewed for season 2 over at Disney+. And the fact that renewals are so rare these days, to be honest with you, there used to be a renewal season. And now a show gets renewed whenever, or it'll take years for a show to get renewed or get confirmed for a renewal. There's a new Digimon mobile game called Digimon UP. I want to talk about it a little bit. Metaphor Fazo director is talking about making JRPGs more accessible, and I want to talk about what that means in the greater scheme of things. Because I think people think that means dumbing it down for access sake, and sometimes it's just we'll talk about it. JoJo Still Ball Run second stage revealed to come out this year, but when? So we're going to talk about Netflix's horrible release schedule when it comes to the JoJo franchise. Frieren getting season 3 and kind of talking about this long production cycle. And then Smash Bros movie getting in the works and making a little bit of fun of this Glenn Powell becoming Fox McCloud in Mario Galaxy. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Netflix MCU show since, DareDevil's around. Also on that note, we're going to talk about The Punisher. And then for the reviews, we're going to do a triple review today. We're going to do Yuji versus Higuruma for JJK. We're going to do DareDevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 1, the opener. And then we're going to talk about Full Metal Alchemist Episode 1 and 2 for a new watch-along segment. And that's going to be it. So let's get into this podcast today. So, guys, I do have our question of the day, our nice question of the day. What trait do you think modern society is missing the most? And I know this is a very obtuse question, so keep it in the realm of media, content. What do you think modern society is missing the most? Because I have a really good answer to this question if you guys can follow me on this. So hear me out when I talk about this. We're really missing, hold on, I got this. I think the trait that modern society is missing most when it comes to media is whole blockbuster movies that culturally we can all enjoy. Back in the day when a Star Wars movie used to come out, even the prequels, it was a generational thing. People opt into these movies. I mean, you can go back and see the reviews of these movies. People interacted with these movies. These movies were pieces of literature for the most part. And it feels like now, because, you know, streaming is a thing, content always got to come out, Star Wars doesn't hold that same cultural significance. And what movie really does? Even if, you know, Doomsday comes soon, Marvel Avengers Doomsday is coming out soon, and Secret Wars, is there gonna be some type of story that movie's gonna tell that's gonna bring us together as a culture, that's gonna entertain us as a culture? Or is it gonna be just another like cameo fest? To be honest with you, like, and to bring it even to Marvel, when like Civil War came out and people were debating Team Tony versus Team Cap, and they were debating like who was actually in the right and why, that was a cultural thing. That was a great debate. I feel like we came closer as a society, even if we all didn't agree. And we don't have anything that challenges us like that anymore. So yeah, like I get that on your mind. What trait do you think is missing most in modern society when it's coming to like media or culture or bringing us together? I think I even think about like when's the last time we as like a culture got together like that? I mean, it's March. It's March of 2026. And I'm thinking like, maybe if you were like a hip hop head when like the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef happened and that was going on. But like, it's not like during the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef, we came together as a society and was like, oh man, we're gonna actually condemn these actions, these weird actions from both these people. Because like, let's be honest, Drake has a very weird, sketchy past when it comes to women. But also, in retrospect, Kendrick was demon during that whole entire beef. The way that he just publicly bullied and juggled Drake during that whole entire time cracks me up. But also, in retrospect, you realize like you wouldn't want your like friends to do that to someone. And you would feel weird if your friend did that to someone. Like, I know we came together as a culture to laugh at Drake, but at the end of the day, we reflect and be like, man, do we need to change as a culture? Do we need to do better with like children, women, or just how we like address each other? But no, we all woofing laugh over some rap beef, and that's what Vince Staples was really talking about in his interview about the beef. That like we'll sit here and hoo ha ha about like the beef, but we won't really talk about like what is being talked about outside of just like attacking the other side. Okay. I mean, also, we missing romance movies. I'm gonna be honest with you. We missing classic romance movies. I'm trying to think, when's the last time you watched a good romance? And I'm not talking about no will they, won't they type of mess. Like actually watching two people fall in love. I mean, if you know good romance movies, please recommend them in the comments. Please let me know. I need a little bit more hookcore in my life. So recommend me some good romance movies. But I feel like when you write romance now in modern TV, it's a lot of will they, won't they, and weird tension. Not actually getting down and dropping down and like talking about, look, Mile's got it. Crazy Stupid Love. That was the last good one I watched. And you are watching like two crazy people. You're watching people fall in and out. That's it. We got to review it now. We have to talk about Crazy Stupid Love on the podcast. Because honestly, it's a good movie. It's a really good movie. Okay, hold on. Man, I got to write it down. Let me write it down real quick. I think my big project for April is a content bank. So I can just have like reviews in the background for stuff. Crazy Stupid Love review. That would be amazing. Actually, that wouldn't be a review. I think that would be a breakdown because it would be more than just talking about like the movie and what it does. It's more about like, what is the movie trying to tell us? What's the message behind the movie? And I think Crazy Stupid Love is like the perfect movie to do that with. No lie. Like it was such a good fun movie. Okay. No more gushing. Let's move on and talk about these current events. Oh man. Okay. Turn that off. Turn this on. Okay, peeps. Let's talk about it. My best friend's wedding is another good one. Okay. So let's get into these current events. Wonder Man renewed for season 2 over at Disney Plus. Now that's a wonderful news. TV series Wonder Man has been renewed for season 2 over at Disney Plus. The news comes around 2 months after the series launch with 8 episodes. Boy, Yaha Abdul Mati II, I definitely know I butchered that name, and Kingsley will be starring in the series. They'll both be returning in season 2. It seems like everybody else, like all of Simon's family, is coming back for season 2, and it's really good. What I want to talk about when it comes to this show, though, is this. Because Wonder Man was an amazing series. If you have not watched this series, this is like peak superhero. No, not peak superhero TV show. Honestly, Wonder Man reminds me a lot of like watching a slice of life anime with supernatural elements. And honestly, I think that is something that Marvel could do more of if they really wanted to tap into, let me make this TikTok. Wonder Man season 1 very much feels like a slice of life anime. You know, you're watching like a couple episodes of this wacky, goofy people in this wacky, goofy world. And even though these people may have powers and like can do things, it's not the center focus of the show. It's a show about watching people live their lives and get along. And I honestly think that is a very good angle for Marvel to take when it comes to like adapting more of this content. You don't need everything to be a world-ending event. Not everything needs to be a multiversal crush of it. Sometimes you just want to see a guy try to get his job and try not to blow up the world while he's doing it. Sometimes, and I might be projecting a little, sometimes you just want to watch a guy try to make art and sort out whatever issues he has inside of his mind and heart while he does it. And watching that arc is beautiful. I don't need everything to be punching and kicking all the time. And I'm happy that Wonder Man is getting a season 2 for it. Now, these are my wish lists for season 2, though. Let me hit y'all. There are 3 things I want out of Wonder Man in season 2. I want there to be like this reoccurring plot. Number 1, I want this reoccurring plot either being like a reference to the comics for it being like Hawkeye, or it could be an introduction to a brand new hero. But I want someone kind of harassing Simon a little bit about becoming a superhero, joining an Avengers team, maybe a West Coast Avengers team. And then as you're seeing this like arc go along, you might see him do a little bit of like superheroing, but I don't want it to be the main focus. And if you decide to do West Coast Avengers, it would be really cool if like everybody was kind of like Simon. They were like half human beings who have to do real human being things and not always the superheroes full time. That would be kind of cool. 2, I want another Doorman style episode, but I want you to call it the Grim Reaper and have it focus on like the strain between Simon and his brother. If you could just like make this like a very classic Spotlight episode, and like you can film it like a Spotlight, you can shoot it like a Spotlight, produce it like a Spotlight separate from the whole entire season, but make it feel wholly unique and get us to understand why these 2 brothers don't get along. And number 3, I want some type of like, because we got like superhero, not superheroes. We got a Doorman episode. So number 3 would really be like just watching Simon like become more of his own. He didn't really feel like he was super confident at the end, like he got stardom. But I want him to realize that that's not the end all be all of like life. That doing something about the art that you're portraying is important. Maybe it's just a mess. Like maybe it's a story about like messaging or something. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. I really do like this show though. Okay, now speaking of punching and kicking, I really do want to watch some Digimon Beat Break. It's like I thought it was gonna be a seasonal anime, but it keeps going, and I'm like, I gotta hop in soon. But during Digimon Con 2026. A couple like last Sunday, Bandai Namco basically said that Digimon Time Surge was getting another major DLC in 2027. That's their latest PS5 or their latest game, really good in the Digimon story franchise. But they also said that they're revealing a new mobile game this year called Digimon UP. And let me see, is there a way that I can mute this? There we go. And it's really cool. So I'm going to talk more about this game like through the trailer, but it's really cool that Digimon is getting a new game. It's going to be, phone, Android. They've done tons of this before. But what I really like about this game is the fact that it has the pixel Digimon in it. These models that they've worked really hard on from the Vital bracelets and stuff, it seems like they're either revamping them for this game, and then you get to see references to the card games and all that. And it's really cool because like Digimon needs something to keep in the zeitgeist. If they always had like a little mobile game, this would be fun. And all it has to be is a battle game at the end of the day. That's what I say Digimon needs to do to catch up to the same level as Pokemon, is have some type of like continuously battle franchise or battle format to get people to always want to like see new Digimon. So I'm happy that Digimon UP is coming because that will give them a chance to do that. So if you guys don't like, I mean, because if you have a PS5, I'm not going to be like, I kind of hard for me to tell you to drop 120, 130 on Time Strangers in the DLC. But also, I mean, if you got 90 hours to play an RPG, go for it. As we're talking about RPGs, let's actually move along to our next little category. So, Metaphor Rize Fantasio director feels like they need to make JRPGs more accessible for a wider audience. So, Forze director Katsuri Hashino recently participated in an interview with Game Informer, and this is the full quote that you're talking about, like making JRPGs a little more accessible. More than just latching on to a specific genre of game, we're going back to how we evolve our JRPGs and what it looks like. For us, it comes to a turning point where we want to really take it to the next level in terms of how our JRPGs are. Of course, we want to retain our strengths, whether that be our narrative or elements that makes us JRPGs. With these chimes, we do feel like we need to update our format and create games that would be more widely playable, not just within the JRPG realm, but something that would be easier, more accessible for a wider audience. We hope to update our format with that in mind. And I think that is the part that scares people. With these changing times, we do need to update our format and create games that would be more widely playable, not just within the JRPG realm, but something that would be easier and more accessible for a wider audience. We hope to update our format with that in mind. So when the Metaphor Fantasio director says that they need to make JRPG more accessible for a wider audience, there is a little bit of a conversation about making JRPGs like quote unquote easier. But I don't think it necessarily means making the game's difficulties easier. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that like the real reason why JRPGs are so hard is because there's a lot of information, hidden information to you when it comes to playing the games. A good example is like Persona 5. I played a couple years back, and if my friend Rambo didn't tell me about like certain, like if it didn't tell me explicitly about like making sure that I leveled up my friendships and that something happens at the end of leveling up all my friendships with my like teammates, I wouldn't have known that my personas all evolved unless I went online and found that information out. I wouldn't have known that like you would have got a special ending for doing all the romance or opening all the romance routes. So I don't think they mean by making it more accessible, quote unquote easy, that they're gonna dumb down the qualities of these games. I think they're just gonna make this information a little more accessible and make it known that like this is what JRPGs are about. And I really hope they do that because like, like I love JRPGs, and I don't mind playing like 90-hour games. But I will say like, once you get to like hour 20, there's a lot of times when you're playing a JRPG and you get to like hour 20, hour 30, and you just don't know what to do, that the game doesn't really give you any type of quote unquote hints. I don't think it will necessarily make the difficulty of games go down if you were to put like reminder systems in the game or hints in these games to be like, this is where you need to go next, or this is what you could be doing today. I think that's what made Persona 5 so accessible for me to play, is that little like hint thing in the corner that connected to the PlayStation Network and showed you what people were doing at this point of the game to maximize their experience. Even something like that in more JRPGs would be nice. Okay, all right, let's back it up a little bit more. Let's talk about some Marvel. Let's talk about Marvel. Marvel confirms that the Punisher One Last Kill special presentation release date. I'm not gonna waste your time with this news. I'm telling you straight up. After the last episode of DareDevil Born Again for this season, they're going to release this special. I believe they'll probably do it like DareDevil Born Again will drop like in the morning, and later in that day, maybe around 6 p.m., 7 p.m., this will drop as a special presentation. And it's really cool. They've already announced that there's a villain for this series. It's going to be a mafia boss that's linked to the murder of linked to the Punisher's family members dying. Ooh, yes, we're going to be tackling the gang. But it's really cool because we know that Punisher is coming back for Spider-Man Brand New Day. So I'm interested to see what they're going to be closing off in this and how they're going to open up a new arc for him so we can see him in Brand New Day. But yeah, like I know Jonathan Berthel is like hella down to do this because he was so upset that he could not be in more Daredevil because of his recording schedule. That's why when you watch Born Again season 1, he's only in there in so many episodes. So giving him his own it'd be perfect. I need this to be red blood. I want this to be colored. I want a colored version. I want a black and white and red version. How hard would it be if this Punisher Last Kill movie got a black, white, and red release? How cool would it be if this movie was just straight blood, gore, and just slaughter, and it was in black and white and red, just like they did Logan? I would think this would be the greatest thing Marvel came out this year. Who cares about Doomsday? Make this one of your bloodiest projects yet. And Marvel, since y'all have had Disney Plus, y'all have not been afraid to do something like this when it comes to the Punisher. Don't tease me. Don't blue ball me. Let me have it. Because my God, like, oh my, like, okay. If you have not seen it, and we're going to talk, I have it there. I have the Marvel bit right there. I have the Marvel bit right there. We'll talk about this later. Okay, now I get to rant about my other favorite thing in the whole wide world, buff gay men racing. Steel Ball Run! JoJo Bizarre Adventures anime teases the second stage and new trailer. I'm not going to waste your time on this one either. We don't know. They released the first stage of the race on Netflix like a week and a half ago, and then they don't know when they're dropping the second episode. We know we're getting it sometime in 2026, but once again, Netflix has ruined the JoJo experience by having this awkward and weird release schedule and then not communicating on like a real like note on how to handle it. I would have been cool if they would have told us like, yo, we're going to do the first couple legs of the race as movies. And then once we get a little more episodic, once the stands get introduced, we'll be able to do it bit by bit. But nah, like they want to do this. And I know why this particular stage has to be animated like this, because this is when we do get the introduction to the abilities. But man, like, you could have made it like, oh, we're doing a 3-part event to kick off the anime and then we're going episodic. This no communication thing, especially when it comes to JoJo, I hate it. And this would have been the season to be like, this would have been the freaking season to do properly. I didn't want to have to be the one to say it, but what is it with media companies dropping all of this like commentary-based media when it's going wrong in the world? You could have adapted Steel Ball Run any other time in this world, but you want to do My Funny Valentine, My President arc, when the U.S. president is picking up in real time? It's funny, and it cracks me up because like I was thinking the same thing when we were doing Daredevil, and I was watching Daredevil, and like y'all dropped this season, y'all did this fascist Wilson Fisk take over and manipulate New York arc in the middle of the United States government acting up. Like, it's like life imitates art, art imitates life, and we're just here playing on the stage. Crazy work. Okay. Let's get this done. Other news. Frieren is getting its next season. Frieren season 3 dropping in October 2027. I'm going to be 34 when this drops. I'm going to be 34 years old watching an anime about a small little tiny woman and her compatriots traveling across the world. I cannot wait for it because I love this show. We definitely need to start talking about season 3 now that it's wrapping up. But man, like, just off bat, the fact that the animation for this show is so peak makes me fall in love with it every day. And as a person who's like, I know this part is very specifically to me and like my 3 viewers, but like for this to also have a Vanguard collaboration and I can just cast the spells from the show in my favorite card game, I love it. I gotta start doing Card Fight Vanguard name drops in the stream now and on TikTok now, so people know I'm not a poser when it starts getting popular again. Also, I'm gonna rant about something silly. Who cares? Who cares? Glenn to voice Fox McCloud in Super Mario Galaxy movie. Okay. Now, if you guys were here last week, you would have saw my review on the Super Mario movie. You would have heard me talk my little mess about it. But to be honest with you, as much as I truly want a Super Smash Brothers movie, and my ass is gonna be there day one, this is a sloppy way of doing it. Why does it seem like this Mario universe that they're trying to pitch in this in DreamWorks Illumination, why is the multiverse just there? Like we're just stepping into the multiverse? Or is this like a hint of oh, we're breaking the multidimensional barriers or some stuff? Like Mario ain't got no lore like that, bro. Mario ain't got lore to be doing all this. Let's just drop Fox McCloud in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. He's gonna be a hero in space. Nah, get the fuck out of here. Okay, I'm actually tripping. I will say I'm actually tripping on this one. As an individual, I kind of wanted to just play that up for TikTok. But I also kind of just hate that how they're doing this. Because you clearly see that they're rushing dropping these characters and not gonna even give them specials or movies. The thing is, doesn't DreamWorks Illumination, don't they have a deal with Peacock? Can't you give us a Fox McCloud special? And then the fact that you dropped this in a press release and then just not let it be a surprise in the movie is the fact that they're telling us about Fox McCloud in a press release for this movie and not as a special thing to see in the movie is the reason why modern cinema has lost its magic. Honestly, this would have been so cool if in the middle, as Mario and Peach are going into space and they're traveling and they see, oh, pew, 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 do a barrel roll. Nah, I gotta see it in a press release and be oh, I can't wait to see Fox McCloud. This is where the magic's on gone, bro. This is where the magic has gone. That is for our current events today. 100% telling people beforehand is a blunder. 100%. It's okay. Hold up. I remember when Civil War came out and they announced that Spider-Man was going to be in the movie. Cool. I was happy with it. That is something that you can reveal before the movie comes out and we all be cool. That's how you tease something. Something that you don't do is Black Superman in Justice League. That is not a reveal that you need to show us in a movie trailer. You let that be a cool, sick Easter egg inside of the movie. So while they're doing all of this Super Mario movie stuff, I know, and I'm pretty sure they're going to do some type of cameo. Don't get me wrong, but it's just sad. It just sucks that you can't just have something cool like that chilling in the film. It's especially when you the press was already super hyped about Donald Glover being Yoshi. That was already generating enough buzz. So you being oh, Fox McCloud is gonna be in the movie. Cool. You better have a better cameo in this, a way better cameo than that. I bet if I do not, I am so sorry. I'm about to say something crazy. Sakura Senpai, I'm sorry to say this because I know you do not want to do any more work, but I need this. If they do not give me a Kirby movie in the next 2 to 3 years, scratch all this Mario movie, all this Fox McCloud, all this Yoshi. If you do not give me a Puyo movie in the next 5 years, I'm beefing with you. This would be such a sick visual movie. This will be such a solid movie when they do it. You don't need to do any real characterization about Kirby itself. You can do Kirby like a flat character like Goku, where Kirby doesn't go through an arc. The world reacts to Kirby. And Kirby, being a freaking multi-dimensional monster, would translate so well into a little cute kids film that then turns into a crazy cosmic horror towards the end. I think visually a Kirby movie really would work. That's just my opinion. That's my opinion. I have to be the one who says it. Guys. Okay, let's do our little fun segment today. This weekend, we're talking about the Marvel Netflix shows. And I was trying to think, does DareDevil, first of all, the reason I even started this idea was that I was thinking is DareDevil the only good Netflix show that like has consistently good seasons all the way across the board, because that's how it kind of feels. Like, I could be wrong, but I feel like DareDevil is the only Netflix show from the Marvel catalog that has like consistently good episodes or consistently good seasons all the way down. And because I couldn't really think about it too much, I decided we're gonna make a tier list for it today. We're gonna talk about it today on the tier list. Because if we really do talk about that first season of DareDevil, S tier television, I can't be mad at it at all. It is honestly one of my favorite pieces of television I've ever watched. I love the introduction to Matt's character. I like how he doesn't get the red suit. A choice that I really like did not like as a kid, as a younger person. I actually love the fact now, in retrospect, that he honestly only wears that red suit for like 2 of the Netflix seasons. And the anticipation to that suit is worth it. And then when that suit gets stripped away from him for narrative reasons, I love it. Triple S tier show. Now, and see, this is where now I feel some type of way. Because now you get to Iron Fist. And where I originally would be like, man, Iron Fist is such a B tier show. Like, the fighting is kind of meh. The story is not the worst, but then I think about it even harder. And it's just the fact that like Flynn doesn't do it for me as an actor. I don't know if it's just I don't think it's like Finn just himself. I feel like Flynn and the freaking script does not match well. Because they want this guy to be like this fish out of water character who's like worried who has like this deep like survival guilt, like this worry in the back of his head. But he comes off all aloof and goofy in the day-to-day motions of it that I don't really care about like the mystery of his trauma like it. Like I don't care. And then like the second season takes it so much worse. I'm like, I like it that Colleen gets the powers. I'm happy Colleen is the Iron Fist because she actually does her job properly. But man, it's so hard to say this because I actually did like watching it when it came out. But like, I do not go back to these shows at all. Like the Iron Fist are not rewatchable shows. And honestly, when you see me do these tier lists, that is what I'm really like asking myself. Like, are these shows rewatchable? Did I enjoy them watching them the first time? Did I enjoy rewatching it on like when I wanted to just pick up random episode? And is it good on a rewatch? And when I'm watching it, does it make me feel good? Like that's where you will see a lot of my rankings go. Because when we talk about something that has really good watchability, we are definitely talking good about that first season of Jessica Jones. Like Jessica Jones' first season, where she is dealing with her trauma with the Purple Man, is such solid television. I love that we actually get to explore women trauma in a supernatural way and in a relatable way. Like this show isn't like, it doesn't play around with the fact that we're dealing with a very, very manipulative like set of powers for a very strong woman. But like the way that they play with her anxiety, the way that they translate it through the camera and with the cinematography, chef kiss. I do not know why we suddenly just get worse in the other 2 seasons. Like season 2, definitely like not the worst. It's probably a little less. But man, that last season kills me, bro. It is not enjoyable. I did not finish it. Like just watching Tish just go down worse and worse in these seasons breaks my heart. Like seeing the Hellcat go from like this very confident social media or like news reporter type of lady who's like really capable about like living her life, and just watching everything get stripped away from her while Jessica just stays in the mud. It hurts. 2 packs of booty cheeks. Man. Now we get into DareDevil season 2. And honestly, once again, really good television. Not as peak as season 1, because I definitely think once we get here, this like 13 episode format we're doing for the seasons is not feeling it anymore. But I like where we end at this season. I like that it's a very Punisher focused season. and giving the Punisher a plot line that directly correlates with like the lawyer Matt Murdock was beautiful understanding. And once again, we don't need to, like, for season 2, we don't need to rehash anything from season 1. We get to relate, we get to translate, we get to see the differences that Matt makes versus Frank when it comes to them dealing with their, and it's real nice, real nice. They may feel like they're very similar, but when you really dig into it, they're very, very different people. And then this is definitely gonna feel like Hayden. This is definitely gonna feel like me hated. But the other guys, the other heroes in Defenders bring Defenders down. I'm sorry. And this is also why I think that the Iron Fist, like me feeling how I feel about the Iron Fist also kicks in here. Defenders definitely makes me feel worse about like these characters, because where I want to see like a Heroes for Hire season, where I would like mind seeing like Jessica and Luke hook up and have their child, when I want to see like these little like seeds get sprouted, they decide to take 4 to 6, 8. They take 8 episodes to just get me into their hands, watch Elektra get revived and then eventually just killed again. And then like nothing else from this season blossomed into anything that was worthwhile. Outside of like the death and resurrection of the Daredevil. Like that was the only good part of this whole entire show. Everything else that came from this sucked. And a perfect example about like the before and after the Defenders is Luke Cage. I love that first season of Luke Cage. Such a solid show. Such a solid show. Watching like one, I love like Black stories are always going to be good to watch, especially when it's not always harped on Black trauma, but also Black hope. And watching a character who literally starts from bondage and experimentation to go into being a hero and protector of the world, or his community, not the world, his community. It's just beautiful. But after he goes into the Defenders and he comes back and then he has to defend Harlem again, and Harlem is not as clean cut as he thinks it is. Like the second season's so booty cheeks. So booty cheeks. Like, is that the Bushmaster season? Yeah, I think that's the Bushmaster. I'm the Bushmaster. And I'm just, bro. Like, all the pizzazz of the first season went out the window when it comes to the second season. Now, when we get back to it though, I love the third season of the Daredevil. And I don't know what changed over the years. Maybe because now I'm like looking back at it and looking at Born Again season 1 being like the mess it is, that season 3 is actually like a very classic tragedy. I just love it. I love watching Matt get stripped of everything again. I love seeing Bullseye be translated the way he is, and watching like Bullseye slowly like slip. In retrospect, such a good change. I know we get to the point where like these Netflix shows try to change a lot to ground these characters, but looking back at it, I really do like how they handled Bullseye and how he was like special ops and he has a fractured mind, and that fractured mind, when he changes, he becomes Bullseye. And then like there is a real dichotomy, and they're now going to be playing more to that in like Born Again. Chef kiss. Love it. Love it. But I do think, and I will say this when it comes to Daredevil, I will also say this when we talk about this though, I feel like when you do these shows and you adapt and change these characters, I feel like you kind of do lose like a little essence of those characters. And I don't know, I'm sitting here trying to defend Bullseye to all characters. He's a freaking petty criminal in the comics. But like, is that what we're missing in like superhero TV shows, like petty criminals? Like, and I know that's not realistic, because once you commit crimes, you should probably go to jail and never come back. But like, not really, but maybe that's what makes comic books just feel a little bit different as a medium. That was just a tangent. That was just a tangent. Okay. Y'all gonna hate me for this one. Punisher season 1. Ooh. Okay, it's because y'all not gonna like this one. Punisher season 1, better than Jessica Jones. Not S tier, pretty good. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I was so like burnt on Marvel by the time season 2 of Punisher came out. I think this is when like I felt the decline happening in these shows. Like the fact that like these felt too much like a separate universe, it honestly made me not watch the rest of season 2 of Punisher. It was a really hard slog. And maybe I definitely do need to go back and like consume it again, especially since the special was coming. But like, this is when I was definitely feeling like this Marvel Netflix deal was not working out anymore. And we definitely needed like these writing teams to be in the same room conversating, because the tones that we were getting from these shows, and I'm not talking about just like from a gritty perspective, like there's just the general like style and tone from these shows were so jarring from the movies that I kind of just fell off around here, to be honest with you. But this is my complete ranking when it comes to the Marvel Netflix MCU shows. Triple S tier, hitting the lottery is anything Daredevil. Hey, Punisher, Jessica Jones, Punisher, DareDevil and the Punisher, Luke Cage, The Bees, Defenders, the sequel seasons, Poop Fist, and season 3 of I Can't Get Through This. But what do you guys think? Did you like these MCU shows? Is there something here that you would debate with me about? Can you defend your favorite show if I put it in poop? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, some of these were a hot pack of ass. Like, I just feel like if we're straight up talking about it, really right here is like when I'm like, why are we still doing this? Can we get some good writers in the room? Like, y'all clearly are not doing this correctly. Okay. I am going to get to the review part of this stream. The review part. UG versus, for a couple weeks, we're going to be talking about JJK. I literally have been like obsessed with this show this season. It has been one of the best piece of showing I have watched in a while. And I am definitely like a showing hater for the most part. Like, as a very super personal note, I am not a big like showing guy. And I think it's because like as an art form, I really don't like, you only see action so often. Like you could only deal with some action so often that I rather just have good stories. But I will say that modern showing has definitely been doing better with like the type of content they've been coming out with, like the level, not meant to say the level, the quality that we've been getting out of showing lately has been really good. As much as I love to make fun of My Hero Academia for whatever thing is we trying to do every week, it was cool to see it wrap up. It was cool to see Deku go through his journey, finally like beat the bad guy. You know, like it ended like most showing anime, like big badass, big punch. But why did this do this? Hold up. Oh, let's go delete. There we go. Okay. Oh, I am so sorry, headphone listeners. So let's get into these reviews. So this week we will be talking about the Tokyo Colony from JJK. I know a couple weeks ago we talked about the Maki fight. Definitely, well, I gotta find that, cut that up and put it somewhere. So now we're gonna talk about the Tokyo Colony. Long story short, let me hit y'all with a long story short. Let me hit y'all with the facts. So it's the last time we saw our heroes. Last time we talked about it on the podcast, Maki just got done taking out the Zenin clan. It was a very symbolic, really good fight. After that, we got a little regrouping, and we'll talk about this particular arc once part two of the Colon Games gets announced. We'll talk about Hikari. We'll talk about the Megumi versus the Star Girl and the Hikari meetup. And when next season comes out, because Hikari kind of has more stuff going on in the next season than he does in this season. He just gets an introduction. But we are going to drop off right after meeting Hikari doing the headbutt thing with Yuji, and then starting to get into the Tokyo Colony. I will say the first part of the Tokyo Colony episode starts with this transition of them like still talking to Hikari. And I really do crack up because like when we start this, we just got done with Hikari realizing that these kids are a little too metal. These kids who came to his fight club are a little too crazy for him to be dealing with. So eventually hears them out, decided like, hey, yo, Hikari, we want you to come help us unseal Gojo. We've learned that you're a pretty strong sorcerer who like can rival Yuta Akotsuku. And Hikari was like, who said this? That was my favorite part of Hikari. Hikari's like, who told you about me? Who's yapping about my skills? And it's just the energy around Hikari was just so nice. I like that once he realizes that Megumi is the head of the Zenin clan, that he stops calling him Sea Urchin Head and just ends up calling him like, be really cozy to him, calling him all cute names. He's like, yeah, just not cozy yet. But then again, everybody regroups and kind of like goes back over the rules and the strategies of going into these colonies. The point of going into the colonies is to get enough points to add rules to the game so Megami's sister can get pulled out of the game. Right now, they're going to go into Tokyo Colony because we did get a rule was added that you can now see players, their names, their techniques, the points that they currently have, and if they spent any points to add rules, and what rules they added. So with this information, they pretty much like figure out who to go after, and they've decided to go after a guy named Higuruma because he has a lot of points and he's a modern day sorcerer. A very big thing about this episode is like learning the difference between like the approaches of going against like modern day sorcerers versus reincarnating sorcerers. Real quick, we'll do a little like refresher on that. When Kenjaku started the Culling games, groups of sorcerers were either reawakened, ancient sorcerers from all the way that could be come back from like 1,000 years ago, or certain modern day humans would awaken curse techniques. When they meet these modern day sorcerers, they're going to try to use logic and negotiate them for their points. And when they come in contact with these ancient sorcerers, they're going to be a little more weary because ancient sorcerers are way more deadlier than modern day sorcerers. Or that the idea is that they're a little more bloodthirsty. You see Yuji and Megami go into the edge of the Tokyo Colony, and it's really funny how like Gege writes that part, because Itadori is like, I know what the plan is, but just because I may not know what the plan is, can you say it one more time? Obviously getting them to remind us because it's a TV show. Really solid way of getting us like to do exposition or going over exposition, especially when immediately they step into the colony, they are separated. There's 9 different spawn points in every colony, and the narrator gives us a nice little description that there are sorcerers who like camp at these spawn points and basically try to get newbie sorcerers out the way. Megami gets separated, but ends up meeting this girl named Remy, who curse technique is about her hair. She's trying to like convince him to like come help her about something after he knocked her off. But Itadori goes immediately into the middle of the air and a fight scene starts. And honestly, this fight scene is like one of my favorite things about this whole arc. And honestly, one of JJK's very good strengths is like the way that they utilize terrain when it comes to fighting. And it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna fly around, swoop around like Goku, Vegeta, and like Dragon Ball Z. The fact that a lot of these characters cannot inherently fly, but they're often in like very high places using like acrobatics and like high motion to navigate is really cool. Especially with this fight with Itadori and the propeller head sorcerers. Like he is like in the middle of the air. Propeller head 1 comes in at Propeller head 1, the girl comes at him. He just swats her out. Propeller head 2 comes at him, and he's like dodging him through buildings, jumping off buildings, sliding down, basically trying to find some footing so he's able to just knock out the propeller head man. You're definitely gonna hear me talk about that, like that particular like strength of this season is like the terrain-based fighting. I just gotta get better screenshots. I didn't know if I was gonna get copyright if I showed 2 new screenshots, just to say. But long story short, at the end of this episode, they're separated. Megami is being led away by Remy. Yuji finds a hometown friend. And I really do like this like part of the episode because there's this visual where I know I have to make this podcast like me talking with my hands because you just got to see an animated black man. I like the visual cue of like Remy and Yuji's hometown friend. When you look at him, you clearly know, like you clearly can tell by the way it's animated that Remy is trying to portray Megami, but Yuji's friend is trying to help him. And that's how they cut off that first episode of Tokyo Colony. The second episode has this really nice cold start to Higuruma's backstory. They start painting him as this like caring defense attorney, prone to taking on these like very impossible assignments. I like how the story highlights that the Higuruma that you're meeting in this opener is already a Higuruma that has been like beaten down by the system. Before this, he was a very like optimistic wide-eye lawyer who like took cases on that he strictly thought like he took cases strictly off like the rights and wrongs of the system. But after like a drunk driving case, he ended up getting a bad verdict on a drunk driving case and like saw this guy go to jail for something that he clearly was coerced in doing, knowing that like everybody kind of like lied and cheated the system to get this guy to take the fall. He decided to take more safer cases. He still takes cases that he morally believes in. He takes them a little safer. And this backstory is just real nice. We get to see Higuruma do the footwork on this murder case. This guy who works at a nonprofit organization found a bloody knife. You watch Higuruma work the case, and you know that this guy is innocent. This guy, once again, was abused by cops, had a couple different weird priors. So him not going immediately to the cops makes sense. The fact that the place that he works at doesn't want cops coming into the place, so they don't want to disturb the neighborhood. All of these like really weird circumstances got Higuruma to believe that this guy was right. And as they work this case, they beat it down, they go through appeals. Higuruma still loses the case. And Higuruma's like frustrated. Like there's comments all throughout the episode about how Higuruma's mental health is taking a hit because he's taking all these impossible cases on and he's not doing anything to relieve the stress. So when he sees another guy being failed by him, being failed by the system, his curse technique triggers and Judge Man appears. And I love that opener. It's that doom, 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 doom. We're gonna have a retrial. Cinema. Absolute cinema. We do kind of, after that, you see Yuji come up on Higuruma and he's just like, hey, I mean, we do, in this part, we do kind of get, I am going to talk a little bit about like Megumi being led down by Remy a little bit later. But we do see the start of this fight where Yuji comes to Higuruma and is basically trying to reason with him, being like, hey man, like this calling game thing is not on the up and up. Can you let me use your points so we can put in rules to save people? And Higuruma is like, okay, bro, I think the calling games has its purpose. No one would be doing all this work if it wasn't meant to like either trial the guilty or put us all through hell. So if you can beat me in a fight, because Higuruma has over 100 points. I mean, every sorcerer is 5 points, every cursed spirit is 1 point. So with 100 points, you can guess Higuruma has killed somewhere between like 5, 20 people, 20 sorcerers already. So, you know, him and Yuji just start going at it. And I love the end of the episode where Higuruma comes down from the stage, looks at Yuji. Yuji sees that Higuruma is about to activate his domain, and they just rush into it. The soundtrack is just, that soundtrack was playing in my car for some weeks. Chef kiss. I love it. I love that episode. The black and red, like that followed the domain expansion, was absolute fire. I do like how we also get this nice little tease to Reggie Star. Reggie Star is the guy that's going to be end up fighting Megumi in Tokyo Colony Part 2, or Part 3 and 4 for the episodes are Part 2. But I also like that shot of Reggie where he's like he's just in a dark room with all his receipts around him. It's crazy. It's crazy funny. Like I definitely do like Reggie. Like we're gonna talk a little bit more about Reggie Star later. But man, like that opening shot was really goofy and funny. Like I knew they were having fun drawing Reggie in the manga. But now we get to the actual fight. And then it's funny how we started, because at the end of the last episode, you think they're gonna just start clashing at it. They're just start going at it. But as we get to this next episode, you start learning what Higuruma's domain does. We also get a really nice explainer from Tengen about how O-style domains work. Tengen explaining to Yuji, clearly at the beginning of this arc when they were doing their big prep, that domains used to be way more prominent back in the day. Everybody, like more people used to have domains because they used to be more about making sure that the technique activated and less about a surefire kill skill. And because sorcerers over time became more and more advanced with their domains and their surefire hits or surefire kill attacks, the requirements to get a domain started increasing more and more. That's why you, like now in the modern age, you see domains like Infinite Void that are like super complex. Or something like, I would say Malevolent Shrine, but that's an old style domain. And that domain doesn't follow all the rules either. So we can't talk about that one. But next week we can talk about domains. So Higuruma's domain acts as a non-violent until Judge Man can do its thing. And honestly, we need to give a little explanation of Deadly Sentence, which is Higuruma's technique. So Higuruma's technique is called Deadly Sentence. Deadly Sentence triggers a domain that, first of all, imposes the rule of nonviolence. Inside his domain, a Shikigami called Judgment appears, and Judgment basically knows everything about the target of the domain, everything they ever done in their life. Within the domain, Higuruma puts his opponent on trial. Ooh, perfect to do this. He puts his target on trial. He accuses them of a crime that they have committed. The defendant has a chance to make a statement to either defend themselves, deny the allegation, or like kind of just like be very vague about it. So they can try to get past a guilty verdict. If Judgment finds you guilty for one of the crimes, it triggers something called confiscation. So in the context of the fight, Judgment knows that, first of all, talking about good boy Yuji, because what Judgment first accuses Yuji of, and I don't know if this just means Yuji in himself was just such a good boy, and the only thing he's ever done in his life are these two crimes we talk about in this episode, but like Judgment accuses Yuji of going into a casino. And if you guys don't know, like gambling in Japan is very illegal. The way they do pachinko machines and all that is a very like really, really gray area. But you know, Judgment's like, oh, Yuji, you went gambling. And Yuji, being good boy Yuji, was like, I don't know, man. I don't know what I was doing at that one place. Higuruma tells him like, hey bro, you can confess, deny, or play dumb. And Yuji tries to play dumb. He's like, oh, I only went there to poop. And Judgment's like, bro, Judgment's like, hey yo, the evidence in this little envelope shows that you bought something, bro. You could have just denied it and you would have got past this. Higuruma tells him as the ruling goes down, and confiscation takes away, or it's supposed to take away your curse technique. But because Yuji is a goofy boy who does not have a natural curse technique, it just takes away his ability to control curse energy, which cracks me up. Because now the domain is broken. Higuruma, like the sentence is there, and Higuruma now can attack Yuji. Higuruma starts going into this like little monologue about how usually when he does this to someone, they're so off guard that he can usually kill them in one hit. But Yuji is just built different. During this fight where you're watching Higuruma do all these, like he is like manifesting gavels, tossing them, throwing them, extending it. They're explaining Higuruma's abilities. Higuruma, like they learn, or the narrator goes into this little like talk about because Higuruma's ability came with a domain, he has this inherent understanding of domains. They glaze Higuruma like he was Gojo for a quick little minute. Because they were like, when Higuruma was in school, he passed the lawyer test with one of the highest marks. And then just for the fun of it, he did the O-style lawyer test and got 100% on it. During school, Higuruma understood work as inputs and outputs. And not understanding is the reason why, in the 12 days since he manifested his curse technique, Higuruma is now on par to a grade 1 sorcerer. And I'm just like, narrator, you won't glaze nobody like this unless it's Satoru Gojo. What are you doing? What are you doing? But this is like the duality of the writing. While as the narrator is over here glazing Higuruma about his ability to understand barrier techniques, his ability to control curse energy, and his ability to understand all of this within 12 days, there's also this other narrative going on about Yuji and his natural raw power. There's a very big like conversation about Yuji being built like an unbreakable doll. Yuji having this raw strength without his curse technique or curse energy. How Yuji is almost deadlier without the use of his curse energy. And I really like how the narrative is hinting at Yuji's very unique physiology while also explaining Higuruma's technique. That is really good writing right there. And that's really just like all throughout this arc, that's what they do about Yuji. Instead of like giving Yuji these really amazing wins, they really start trying to start dropping the breadcrumbs of Yuji's abilities in this arc. And I think we will eventually get it because I know this was the arc where like Kenjaku talks about how like, oh no, hold on. Can we also talk about how the anime added that really nice scene of Kenjaku telling Yuji's high school friend, thank you for being friends with my son? we all know that Kenjaku is a mad scientist when it comes to the Colon games, but it is kind of interesting that he actually succeeds when it comes to Yuji. Everything that Kenjaku does when it comes to like Yuji's existence exists. Like Kenjaku's experiments was a success. The Colon games itself didn't manifest what he thought, but a piece of him, his little experiment in Yuji, is it. I'm not gonna spoil it right here for y'all, but I just like how like when we're getting to Kenjaku's plan of the Colon games and how he just wants to create something beyond him and be proud of it. I think if he would have stayed alive, or we would have just saw Kenjaku's soul during this. Let me shut up before I spoil something. Anyway, getting back to this fight. So while Yuji is fighting Higuruma, he's trying to figure out how to deal with not having his curse energy. He understands from his explanation from Tengen that domains like this usually have rules imposed to him, and there has to be a way for him to get out of this. He starts thinking about trials, and he's like, bam, there we go. Hey, yo, Higuruma, I want a retrial. And that triggers the court again. This time, Judge Man, this is getting back to Yuji being such a good boy and not doing a lot of crazy stuff. Yuji then is on trial for the Shibuya incident. And that is the crazy part of this. Yuji has so much guilt about the freaking Shibuya incident, about Sukuna taking over his body and causing all that mass destruction, that he just puts his hands up and says, yeah, I did it, when Judge Man accuses him of the Shibuya incident. And that broke my heart to see my good boy Yuji. Like, Yuji is not like other anime protagonists where we're always seeing him climb new heights every arc. You're watching this kid go through it, and it kind of just sits with you right then and there that, damn, this 17-year-old really has just been through the worst of it, and of no fruition of his own. Judge Man drops down the ultimate sentence on him, the death technique, this nice little cool sword Higuruma has in the shot. Anyone touched by the sword instantly dies. But the nice little touching part of this is when the executioner sword is realized, Higuruma now knows the evidence behind the envelope. And then Higuruma learns that it really was Sukuna. Sukuna was really the person who was controlling Yuji's body during that time. And Higuruma takes it on himself to flinch. Not really takes it on himself to flinch, but he kind of flinches at that information, flinches to know that this kid who's been going through so much committed so much violence, just not of his own fruition. And this kid who like got thrown into the jujutsu world, if he feels this guilty about killing so many people, why does Higuruma not feel bad for all the sorcerers that he's killed since it started? It starts knocking him out of this fog that he's been in ever since his technique triggered. And I wonder if that is what kind of makes me think, like, is there an inherent curse when it comes to the Colon games to drive out these people's like worst inhibition, like these worst traits of them? Because Higuruma feels like he kind of gets knocked out of a haze once he learns about Yuji's evidence. And it feels like this was a fog that he's been in ever since his curse technique triggered. I wonder if that is just a side effect of all of this to get these sorcerers to be more aggressive, is to to change the pattern of change like even the way they would handle situations or their thought process, just a little bit. I know the brainwaves are changing so they become sorcerers, but I think that has more of an effect on their personalities than just manifesting their curse technique. Might have been cooking with that one. But with Yuji's life spare, Higuruma decides to wander the Tokyo Colony until the game ends, pondering his actions and wondering if he is just as bad as the people who he's been casting judgment on. So I really did like this fight. It's really this really does show like the best part of the writing for this series. All these fights are not necessarily physical one-on-ones about two strong characters. Sometimes these fights are about these characters' eternal struggles clashing. Am I a good person for letting Sukuna kill all these people? Am I a good person for letting myself fall into this death game? And those ideals clashing when both these guys are just good guys at the end of the day. I can't wait until we see more Higuruma in JJK. small spoilers, we will see him again. Okay, that was the Tokyo Colony. I hope you guys loved that. Yep. I do have another review for you guys. Now, this one's going to be a little quicker. A little quicker, but we are going to talk about it. Okay. Actually, let's see if we can do this real quick. Okay. DareDevil Born Again Season 2 opener. I really want to get into habits of like when these shows drop, I don't want to talk about every single episode unless something happens, but I definitely want to talk about the openers, the good episodes, and then closers. And I do want to kind of just have a quickie review about the DareDevil Born Again Season 2 Episode 1 opener. Because honestly, after background, so anybody knows that Season 1 of this show of Born Again was really messily done. They switched out writing teams in the middle of production, and you clearly can tell that there were two stories fighting for control of the narrative. They really did want to kind of focus on like Matt and Foggy and Nat tragedy, but they really also wanted to bring fruition this Wilson Fisk take over New York Devil Rings inspired plotline. And now that we have a coherent writing team, we've worked on this for a little over a year. We got, Charlie Cox back in the realms, back in the hymns. So it's really, really interesting to see how this season is going to go. And I think Season 1 really does put us in a nice place. That first act, that first arc of this episode, we're seeing DareDevil go into this really nice classic fight scene on a ship, very reminiscent to the hallway scenes that he used to do in Netflix land. And honestly, this is kind of how you do start off this episode, start off this series. Matt is just taking down these guys, learning that the what's on the ship are weapons, hardcore weapons being brought into New York under the orders of Mayor Fisk. As DareDevil is going through the ship, they notice that the devil is back. The ship captain and the mate sees the devil and they're like, oh nah, bro, we already know what to do. We got to blow this up. So we're under orders to blow up the ship. If DareDevil makes a scene, these guys blow it up in the middle of East River. I don't know my New York as well as I want to, but they blew it up in the East River. And you get that good, nice opening shot of DareDevil coming out of the water with the ship sinking behind him. And then you get that opener. I need a soundboard. And honestly, perfect opener to the season. Letting us know that we're going to just jump into it. We're not going to do no setup, none of this narrative. We already are in the middle of the plot thanks to the first season. So we're just going to get straight to the action. I like how after the opener, we get to see that we have Karen back. Karen is back into the narrative at the end of last season. She came back while Matt was incapacitated. And she's here to, bring down Fisk. She's training inside of the room with Matt in their hideout. And it's really interesting that the minute that we see them, they instantly kiss. You instantly start to see that they're dating already, which is, I thought was really nice. At the beginning of it, I thought this was very nice, very beautiful that, oh man, they're really going to do the Matt and Karen relationship. They're talking about meeting up with their sources and their contacts. And Karen is expressing how she's just frustrated that every time they take a blow to Fisk, he keeps coming back. Both a allegory of like what they've been going through between Season 1 and Season 2. But the fact that they have been fighting Wilson Fisk for, 13 years now? Like, what was DareDevil Season 1 was like 2013, 2014. So like, they've been at it. They talk about having to meet up at the spot later in the day after meeting up with some contacts. And there is a small little allusion to like where both these guys are meeting, who they're meeting with. You kind of think that Matt is going to go meet with his like police contact. But it's also kind of like alluded to that like they're going to get more superheroes, more superpower individuals to come and like make trouble for Fisk. After that, we get a little catch up on Wilson Fisk. We learn that he is running drugs through that shipyard. That was a major plot point in Season 1. And Albany, the guys from Albany are not a big fan of Fisk and the martial law that he's thrown down on New York. They are getting a little suspicious of him because his vigilante anti-task force are going out cracking skulls, beating up people with no due process. And the governor just cannot have it. And there's all these trials on these masked vigilantes, and no oversight from the governor's office. So they're up Fisk's butt. But when that happens, you get an introduction to Matthew Leward's character, Mr. Charles. And Mr. Charles is this very dark and eccentric character. You see a little bit of like this, like, Matthew Leward is very well known for playing like horror characters. So he brings that energy to Mr. Charles, this eccentric, crazy, on the edge, eccentric type of like government employee. He does work for Washington. It's very clear that in his first opening shot that they see that he is next to the White House, which is making this seem a little more sinister. I think as we're talking about, corruption within the New York government, when we're talking about Wilson Fisk, I think this is also going to be overlaid with some corruption within the American government. Do know, Marvel highlight real quick, do know at this time in the Marvel timeline, the United States government is infiltrated by Sharon Carter, who's like the contact, that weapon map. Sharon Carter is doing espionage in the American government. You have Elaine from Seinfeld as Valentina, the head of the New Avengers. And because this does tie directly to the MCU, you're kind of seeing that, hey, yo, maybe there is something going on with the U.S. government. Maybe the U.S. government is preparing for something, and they're using Mayor Fisk and his illegal connections to make sure that this is done in silence. Just a thought. We also catch up with Dr. Glenn, Matt's girlfriend for season 1, and how she is slowly slipping into insanity. Every time we see her do an interview with Kate's stepdad, the swordsman, a nice little callback to Hawkeye. Come on, give us more Hawkeye, give us season 2 of Hawkeye. You slowly see her start losing her mind. She's seeing manifestations of Muse in the background, and every time she does, she starts tilting further and further back. This gets so bad that like after she does she starts losing it with her intake with Kate's dad, and when it's right before Kate's dad's trial, she starts losing it again when they're asking her to change answers so they can get the swordsman classified as like a psychopath. So really cool to follow up with this character and make that narrative hold. I wonder if we're gonna get maybe we'll get a little bit of Netflix magic and she'll turn into like Typhoid Mary or something. I don't know why I said, is Dr. Glenn from the comics? It would be cool. Let's see, because Dr. Glenn got some introduces with Maxwell, Glenn Industries, Matt Murdock, Candace Nelson. She has some Purple Man connections. Like maybe no Typhoid Mary connections, but it would be cool. It'd be cool to see her lose it and then get Fisk, especially because like I want to let this be known. Wilson Fisk still doesn't know that Vanessa put the hit out on him. So I'm waiting for that relationship to blow up so we can also see more like Typhoid Mary. Maybe we'll see other characters. But because like we're not going to get their kid in this show, kind of can get rid of Vanessa personally. That's just my Vanessa take. Anyway, we get to catch up with BB. We did get that nice little tidbit at the end of season 1 that BB is running Mayor Fisk's media campaign. It was always a little bit like weird that like it's always like this little sinister undertone that she might be doing it for a way to get information on him. But at the end of the last season, we definitely learned that she is collecting information and publishing it under different pseudonyms to try to get Fisk's crimes revealed. In this season, or in this episode though, we start getting this cyber terrorist-esque character who is playing as like a caricature of Wilson Fisk, doing his voice, doing his mannerisms, have that white suit on. And all this character is doing is flashing all of Fisk's crimes onto the screen, hopefully generating buzz and bringing light to his stuff. I'm kind of getting an idea that this is BB. I mean, it's a little less one-to-one, but it would be interesting to see like these random stream bits play to something else. I know there's like a random streamer character and for Spider-Man that they can draw from. So, I'm putting that there. I'm putting that there. And then anti-vigilante task force, heavy-handed fascism themes. I think I said it before in this recording. I've already said it today in today's podcast, but it is very interesting to see that like certain media companies will not shy away from making these fascist allegories in their media, especially in this time in American pop culture. With everything going on in America, like news current, this is like, it's really strong to stick to this plot line and not stray away with it. And I really do need Marvel to stick the landing for this show, simply because they're being so heavy-handed with this theme. Towards the end, you see Daredevil's police contact. Oh man, policeman. He is not having it, bro. Like, you kind of get this illusion throughout the whole entire episode that like he's just like, he's tired. He's getting to the end of it. He's tired of working. He's not getting paid enough. But when he gets caught by the anti-vigilante task force and Daredevil has to come and save him, you start to notice that he's having heart problems. The heart problems are causing Matt to start having flashbacks to Foggy dying and getting him to not focus in the middle of the fight, which causes the vigilante task force to get one on him, basically starting to tear down Matt. As Matt is getting roughed up, and you're seeing, like, from the POV, you're seeing it from like the old man cop's perspective. He's like, I'm not, I can't help. You just see this little thing come in, boop, boop, boop. Oh my God, the vigilante task force is dead. They got sliced. Who would have done it? See a little boomerang, a little thing get flopped up, hit down. You're welcome. Little Bullseye being a little jerk. Bullseye being a little flashy jerk with the save. Definitely had to do that little trick shot to make sure we all knew it was him who saved them. I said it before and I'll say it again. In the moment, I may not have been a big fan of what Netflix did with Bullseye, but damn it, they not fixing it now. But that's my little review of the plot. And honestly, I love this episode. I love the opener to Daredevil Born Again Season 2. These are my big 3 takeaways from it. I was wrong. I thought this suit was going to be a reference to a more mythical, magical Daredevil plot, but I am extra happy that this is an original suit for this show. You definitely see that it is just the Daredevil suit painted and spray paint black, but even throughout the plot of this season, the plot of this episode, as Daredevil's fighting, you're seeing the black paint be chipped away slowly. And I think that is going to be thematic as Daredevil is becoming more and more prominent as a vigilante during the season. I wouldn't be too surprised if towards the end of the series, we get that really good all red money shot, that just action pose, just be sick. It would be sick. Would be sick. Unlike the first season, there's a lot more foreshadowing happening in these first 2 episodes. Things that allude to other heroes joining us in this fight. And that's what they needed. First season did not do that very well. They were very kind of like coarse about it. But I'm happy that they're planting the seeds. I hope they bloom. And all I need is Jessica Jones, to be honest with you. Now, 3, I heard in the background that we won't be getting Luke Cage or Iron Fist directly in this show. But I hope that just means that because we know Marvel are talking to those actors, that at the end of the day, we might be getting a Heroes for Hire TV show. That would be really cool, really nice. But to my knowledge, the only Netflix hero we should be seeing in Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is Jessica Jones and her catalog. But I would be interested to see more. But what about you guys? Have you guys seen the episode? What was your favorite part about this episode? What is the thing you're most excited for this season? Let me know in the comments. Put it down. And I will hit y'all with, we will go through the next big moment for Daredevil. Okay, a little bit side bit right now. I just did a stop clock to just to see how long it took me to do this review. 15 minutes. 15 minutes to do this review. That means most reviews should take me about 15 to 20 minutes to do. And I wrote bullet points for this particular review. Like, I'm trying to figure out like a really good format. Hold up. Like, y'all go hear me talk about it. And maybe I'll put on like maybe that's what I'll do in the mornings on like, ooh, that would not be a bad idea to do on like mornings. Use the podcast as a case study for my content creator business. I really want to get into content creator marketing. I think content creators literally untapped market when it comes to things. Okay, let's get to our last review for the day. Okay, let's check this out, you guys. Let's check this out. Okay, so how do we want to start this? Okay, my beautiful, beautiful people. I want to do a watch along with you guys, which means every week we will watch one show, a couple episodes, like 3 or 4, every week until like we're done with the show. It probably take us like, this show's like 63 episodes, and it's gonna take us like 4 months to get through. We did it week by week. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna like group that together. I don't know if I'm gonna like have us batch watch something and then talk about it every other week, or what, if I'm just gonna start going by arcs. But I'm gonna have to go through it again, because like 63 episodes is kind of long. But for now, let's really talk about just the first 2 episodes of Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, let's talk about the first 2 episodes of Full Metal Alchemist. Okay, I don't know what compelled me to want to watch an anime about 2 young men who become child soldiers to a government that is hiding a conspiracy to gain power, and through that conspiracy to gain power, they decided to commit war acts and war crimes against civilians of a different nation, a nation of brown people. So I don't know what made me feel compelled about watching a story about something like that that's like currently going on in this day-to-day world. But like, I really just want to watch Full Metal Alchemist with you guys. Like, I really just want to watch this little short little jerk do things and jump around and scream like a dummy. So we're watching Full Metal Alchemist, you guys. For next week's podcast, I want you guys to watch episode 1 through 5. It's probably only gonna take you like an hour or 2. But today I really want to talk about the first 2 episodes. And I want to talk about how this narrative does a little bit different than its 2003 counterpart, and why this is just such a good show, and how this opener kind of sets up most of the mysteries of the show so much better. So if you guys don't know, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is the 2011 remake. Hold on. FMA Brotherhood. I need to get a little cyber deck. I'm gonna have to get a little cyber deck. Yeah, 2009. Did we get it? I think English. Yeah, in English we got it in 2011. That's what I felt. That's what it felt like. Oh no, we got it in 2010 to 2011 in English. But it is a 2008 to 2011 anime that is a rehash it's not even just like it's not even a redone of the original one, because the original anime for 2003 took the story a different direction about halfway through, because during that time, that was the big time that they were just giving any manga series, not any manga series adaptation, but they would let these manga adaptations or these anime adaptations of manga happen without a full story being completed. So when Brotherhood's production started many years later, they decided that they wanted to do the full series. And then I guess they did 4 OVAs, and we're going to talk about the OVAs much later. But they were going to tell the complete story from the manga, which is really cool, because the manga story is a little different than the anime story. I think the anime story from 2003, like at the end of it, feels very different, because it's more of a philosophical ending. It's more of a philosophical ending and how it works. And like the way that they do the transmutation circle and where Ed ends up at the end of the original series is just wacky. But in this series, they decided to keep more to the original story, which is funny because they start the whole entire series off with an anime original story. Because the first episode is literally us like doing like reintroductions for everyone. The episode starts off with sirens going off in Central Command, lights going off. We're in Central. We're going to be in Central a lot much later in the series. But it's really funny that this episode decides to just jump us into Central automatically. What's going on is that all of the state soldiers are looking for a rogue state alchemist called the Ice Alchemist. The Ice Alchemist is trying to kill Führer King Bradley after learning a very dark secret of the Führer. They pretty much they start this off by telling Commander Roy Mustang, or another main character that we're going to be hanging out with for a very long time, that like we're putting you in charge of catching this guy. And then we're going to leave our newest hot-headed alchemist in your care. And Roy is like, man, don't leave me with that little blonde-head kid. Okay, sir. And then you get an introduction to the Full Metal Alchemist. And I like how that opener starts, because they pan up to Ed and Al. And if you don't know nothing about this series, you're going to think Alphon, the full suit of armor, is the Full Metal Alchemist. But no, it's a little pipsqueak, the little blonde pipsqueak with the metal arm. Man. And this first episode is just basically just us introducing us to a lot of key players to this narrative, while also watching Al and Ed fight, showing off the very good animations of this series. And you get introductions to people like Roy Mustang, the Flame Alchemist, a pretty high ranking commander in the military. You get a little bit of like, you learn a little bit that he's a wartime general or wartime commander. He was a soldier during the war. You get to meet his lieutenant, Hawkeye. Really cool thing. Like I will get into this when we actually pop up to it. But it's a really nice story beat to learn in this series that Lieutenant Hawkeye, Lisa Hawkeye, her dad is the original Flame Alchemist. And he's the one who trained Roy in Flame Alchemy. They were all military people. She fell for and she follows them all around. Nice little tidbit. Something that you really don't notice until like way later in the series. But it is kind of nice to know that like they're more than just commander and lieutenant. He's known Lisa for a very long time. You get to introduce to the rest of his crew, our wacky little comedy relief characters. I will say, and this kind of gets more deeper into the narrative, I like that even some of the characters that are just like strictly about like comedy, like our joke relief characters, they get to have times in this narrative to shine, especially all of Roy's team. You also get to meet Lieutenant Armstrong, with a really buff guy. He punches matters and transmutates it, a very physical way of doing his alchemy. You also get an introduction to Kimberly, the explosive alchemist. As the whistleblower goes to Kimberly and be like, hey man, I wanna recruit you into my mission of stopping the Fuhrer. You killed all those soldiers back in the day. I know you know the truth of this government. And Kimberly is like, bro, I'm just a murderer, bro. I don't care. Like, I just want to kill people. So you get a little introduction to Kimberly. As you're also seeing the Ice Alchemist go around trying to like, he doesn't really tell anybody like the truth of Radley just yet. He just keeps alluding to it. But he eventually gets cornered by Roy. What's Roy? We learn Roy Mustang's weakness is getting his gloves wet. He can't do flame alchemy when his gloves are wet. We get to see Ed do a lot of cool like one-handed or circleless transmutations, and you learn that that's a very important and very relevant skill in the world. When you see someone perform a transmutation without a circle, even like with Roy, he has a circle on his glove. That's when he's transmuting it. But Ed, and eventually Al, can just do it, hands down. And that's a really cool narrative story. I'm going to talk about it in episode 2. But when you learn what handless transmutation means, you start looking at people who do it a little weird, a little different, like, plot point, narrative. Chekhov's gun. First episode ends with Bradley killing the Ice Alchemist, and you starting to like notice there's something up with Bradley too. He comes off so nonchalant after killing the Ice Alchemist. Congratulates everyone for a good job. You just think he's a good leader who who just is kind to all his people, but you start to notice that there might be a little facade behind that. I think the real highlight for this, I think the real introduction to the series is episode 2. You get the backstory of the boys. You learn that they live in this very quiet hill town. It's just them and their mom. You learn very early that their dad is not there. Their dad is a very talented alchemist, and he left all his research books at his house for his boys to find. And they've learned alchemy. They've learned it all by themselves, which I think is very talented. That's when you learn that these kids are very smart. I think it's a really good way to like show intelligence in a narrative. Like, oh, these little kids who are like 4 or 5 years old can just draw little circles and make things happen. They understand all of the like tricky scientific nuances of alchemy. One thing, alchemy, they learn all the rules of alchemy, and their mom is just proud of them. You really get like this bond with their mom. I think one big thing, and a little spoiler alert for 2003 Fullmetal Alchemist, I really do like how this narrative doesn't backtrack on the mom being a homunculi like the 2003 series does. Like, I like how this series just like, no, like homunculi are a little more nuanced than that. Even though hold on, how can I rephrase that? I like how the 2000 series takes this plot point of their mom being dead, her being a failed human transmutation, and converts that into being the reason why the homunculi exist in the 2003 series. Like, that is kind of like a way for the old animation team to use what the manga was trying to say and take it to a really interesting point. But I really do like how we don't go back to that, like not at all. Like when their mom dies of the illness and they go and learn, they do the time skip where they learn alchemy from the teacher, little tidbits of the teacher, and they come back and produce and like commit the alchemy on their mom. It's kind of crazy. They do the whole entire little like, oh, mercury, aluminum, like all the little like macro element or macro things that make human beings. And then they put it in a circle. They put some soul data, which is their blood, and they try to bring out their mom with the very, very taboo technique of human transmutation. With human transmutation failing because no one's ever done it successfully, it's this very big like narrative point that the reason why human transmutation does not work. I like that there's this very big narrative focus or like rule of the world that like human transmutation in itself does not work because the soul in itself is a piece of the human experience that does not have a quantifiable value. You notice that like when they do this transmutation, and I'll talk about like the whole entire rebound in the truth, you learn like they lose Al's whole body and part of Ed's leg for the price to attempt human transmutation. And those costs were not part of the circle itself. I think if they were to put something in there, like something to match that, the transmutation itself would have went through. But because the soul itself does not have an inherent value, something that you cannot quantify, I think that's why human transmutation in the world of Full Metal Alchemist fails. I love the rebound scene. There's this like, it's a very psychedelic scene of like, because when the rebound happens, they lose Al, Ed goes to the truth. This like God looking being that has a door behind him. And Ed has to absorb all of the truth. How do I say this? That scene, the truth rebounding, feels like a pity prize for the attempt of human transmutation. Like if you guys ever played a gacha game and you know you have that 50-50 chance of getting the hero that you want, getting the truth after a failed transmutation is like getting the pity pool. Ed gets all of this information digged into his head at this one moment. He doesn't get to understand like the great meaning of life, but it just looks like every piece of plain data in this world is absorbed in his head. And it's such a crazy scene because when he gets back to the real world and he notices that he does not have a leg and his brother is gone, he now has the ability he has the inherent ability to learn how to transmute a soul into a body. And I think that's such a crazy scene to learn. Like that is a narrative through line that is sick. And so Ed transmutes again and pays the cost of his arm to the truth for his brother's soul to be like embedded into the armor. And this starts like the most tragic part of this episode. After this, Roy Mustang pops up into this small town, learning of like talented alchemists in the town, and he tries to recruit the Elric brothers. But he meets them right after this failed transmutation. They go, like even Granny Panico goes into, tells Roy like, hey, I just went to the house and whatever they transmutated is not their mother. It's a monster. Roy basically says like, hey, if they become state alchemists, they're clearly talented enough to be state alchemists. But if they go with me and they become state alchemists, they'll be able to have like unlimited resources. Well, a lot of resources, a lot of research. And as long as they just do special missions for the government, we'll leave them alone for the most part. And it's really crazy that they make like the state alchemist this like hybrid state scientist / soldier archetype. Like it's such solidly done in this narrative. I was gonna make this comparison that like in this second episode, they make it a very big point of how they feel about soldiers and what the role of a soldier is in this world. Roy Mustang doesn't come to the Elric brothers and says, hey, I want you to come serve your country. I want you to come and fight for your country. He simply tells them like, hey, you guys are very talented young men, and I wouldn't want that talent to go waste. How about you come join the military for exchange for your time and your body? We will give you they will give you money, research, and the ability to travel this country so you guys can get more knowledge to get your bodies back. And that is such a real allegory to real life soldiers in the real world. Think about it. In most countries that don't have mandatory service, there's this idea of like individual people going into the military just to get their basic needs met. And that's one good thing this show had expanded my world on. Like, this show is what got me to think differently even about American soldiers, because a lot of people end up just doing that, going into service just to get their basic needs or have a goal met, not necessarily wanting to like serve their country. And that narrative is very much explored in this whole show. We'll talk about how even with Winry's parents who died in the major conflict of the plot, this idea of like people dying for their countries is always contrasted to people either wanting to fulfill their own goals, like Winry's parents wanting to just be good doctors, or Ed and Al's journey of like using the military as a resource to get more knowledge to get their bodies back. And then there are some hardcore like nationalists in this show. There's some good nationalists. There are some bad nationalists. You get to explore soldiers' point of views about the military that they serve in this narrative. And I think it's really good. I just want to make sure I said that. As we get to the third act of this episode, you get to see Ed do his state alchemy exam and show how talented he is. He right in front of Frieren King Bradley. Once again, we get to see that Frieren King Bradley once again keeping an eye on talented alchemists. He sees that Ed just straight ups does the transmutation circle or circular transmutation. Says that he learned it just like his teacher. Another teacher teaches to the teacher and hinting about her abilities. But after that, he pulls this little spear up on King Bradley and says, "Hey, yo, Bradley, you probably shouldn't be coming to these things because this is a really good way to just kill you." And then Bradley got an aura farm real quick and said, "You quick with the spear, young man. But I'm quicker with my blade," and slice off the tip of the blade. Just chef kiss. We close out the episode with Roy Mustang giving Ed his code name, the Full Metal Alchemist. And he said, I think it's funny. Like, they even make the narrative joke like, "Oh, we think that's funny because you're not made of full metal, your brother is." But King Bradley knows what he's doing when he gave Ed his name. But yeah, that is a review of the first 2 episodes of Full Metal Alchemist. Let's commit to watching 2 more episodes after this. We're going to watch episode 3 and 4 for next week. So for the podcast next week, FMAB episode 3 and 4. And I think that would be a very good ease into this series. I think episode 4 is kind of a tearjerker. But yeah. Yes, my friends. On that note, my friends. We're getting towards the end of this beautiful, beautiful podcast. I'm happy that you guys came and hung out with me this beautiful Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon now. I got some good TikToks. I got some good recordings. This was a nice morning. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out. Ooh. By next week, this podcast will be on Spotify and Apple. I'm going to call it now. But right now, I want you guys to have a good day. I want you to have a good moment. I want you guys to hug your moms, kiss your daughters in the foreheads, kiss your girls, slap her butt, hug your boys, kiss your man's ears. So I haven't figured out how I'm gonna close these out. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'm gonna do it for the one time. This is Marz King Super here on the Marz King Super channel. Out of here. I'll see you guys later.